Good. I just want to check a name here. Sure. The hour of 7 o'clock has come and passed by 2 minutes, so we'll call our meeting to order. Just before we get into the formal part of our council meeting, I would ask that council and our guests, if they so wish, will bow our heads in a moment of reflection. Just would like to acknowledge the passing of a couple people. They belong to the same organization, but two different clubs. And Steve Schoen and oh, here I go. I'm drawing a blank on the name. Witchy. Paul. I got the right name? Yeah, Paul Witchy. Both were valued Lion members, one from the Dublin Club and one from the Mitchell Club. So maybe we can remember their families in our moment of silent reflection. So we'll bow our heads for a moment of silent reflection. Okay, thank you. All right, so we'll call the meeting to order. There is a motion here to confirm the agenda. There has been one item that has been amended. Item 6.1.2 has been amended with a slight change to the conditions. So if you look at 6.1.2, it's a planning matter. And if you want to just make a verbal note there of that when we come to it. And you can deal with that at that time. Other than that, at this time, I would take a motion to accept the agenda as circulated. Moved by Councillor Rose, seconded by Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Does anybody have a conflict of interest with anything? Councillor Foster?
I would have a conflict with 6.2.1 with the road signs.
Okay, all right. So noted. And also Councillor Fournier is not here in person tonight, but he is in person online. So just every once in a while, I'll have to remind myself that he's online. And if I ignore him, I'm sure he'll speak up and let me know. So there's no disclosure of pecuniary interest that I'm aware of. So move on to the consent agenda. Oops, sorry. You had a conflict. Yes, that's right. We did note that. Okay, sorry. Consent agenda. We have 4 items there on the consent agenda. Is there anything there that anybody would like pulled and dealt with separately or a little more explanation on it? Okay, seeing none. Recommendation is that the Council Municipality of West Perth accept the consent agenda items 4.1 to 4.3 for information and the minutes of the July 7th, 2025 regular and July 21st, 2025 special council meeting be adopted. Moved by Councillor Feltz, seconded by Councillor O'Donnell. And Councillor O'Donnell, I left a card in the corner of your desk there from Broadhagen. I'll mention that in the correspondence, but if you want to just read the card and pass it around, and then by the time we get to correspondence, everybody will know what's in it. It's just it's basically a thank you card. Okay, brings us down to, oh, yes. All those in the motion, all those in favor, Councillor Feltz. Okay, opposed, if any? That's carried. All right, so we're down to the public delegation. Our first item is a presentation by Jennifer Morris from the Salvation Army, food insecurity presentation. She is the Community Services Manager. So Jennifer, welcome to West Perth. Push the button. There you go. You got the red light on, so we're good. So the floor is yours.
So I'm here to talk about food insecurity or food security in West Perth, well, in Perth County, but I'm specifically representing Mitchell tonight. I'll start with just a brief introduction about myself and some definitions, and then we'll talk about some statistics in Perth County, then kind of reflecting back about Ontario as well. I'll talk about what Salvation Army does in Mitchell specifically, why it matters, and then ways to help. And if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask, and I will do my best. So, security is what most people think of when I'm coming to talk. So that's kind of when all people at all times in a household have physical and economical access to sufficient and safe, nutritious food to meet their dietary needs and preferences for a healthy, active lifestyle. And then food insecurity is more the side that I deal with, is when people in a household have inadequate or insecure access to food, and that's usually due to financial constraints. So when we look at West Perth, a large portion of it is rural. So we would kind of look at it as they call a food desert, which means you have to go somewhere to get food. You don't have it near you, and you have to access transportation to get there, whether that's by foot or by car. And then there is the other option that I find is also common, more so larger centers, is the food mirage. So that is where food is nearby and it looks like there's a lot of food, but it's not actually financially accessible to many people. So the statistics, I'll kind of start out with Ontario. So it's been in the news a lot that over 1 million Ontarians are using the food bank in 2023 to 2024. So that's not reflective of this year yet. So roughly that's 1 in 16 people in Ontario are having food insecurity issues. And cost of rent is actually listed as the #1 reason as to why people cannot afford food and why they're accessing food banks, whether a monthly hamper program or a meal program. So lovely Ontario is up to a 73% increase in the last 2 years in Ontario. And I hate to say it, but Mitchell's beating them out on the average. And it's not the last 2, but the last 4. So the last 4 years that I have been in my role, we've increased our food bank usage at 75%. Stratford has only seen a 10% increase, and St. Mary's has seen a 55% increase in that time. So Mitchell's not looking so good. We have increased our hours. That can be part of it. When I started, we were only here for 2 hours. Now we're here for a full day and another half day. Mitchell kind of says that the most inaccessible food items for them to purchase are the meat, the fruit, the vegetables. They're usually the more costly items anyways. And the health unit did a study not that long ago. So the average cost of food for a household is $309 a week if you're doing a nutritious meal kind of program. And so 17.8% people in Huron and Perth County, because it's a shared health unit, are accessing or food insecure. So that could be that they aren't even accessing the food bank, and there could be many more because not everybody labels themselves as food insecure. So Mitchell, we are located at 80 Roland Street, which many of you know is the old public school. Some of you have told us it was the milk room because we are downstairs. We're there on Fridays, 9:30 to 11:45, 1:30 to 4:30, and then we do every other Tuesday afternoon. That was put in place largely because we were filling up our whole Friday appointments, and then we are filling into the next week. Friday to Friday is a long time to wait, so we added in the Tuesday every other week. So that kind of has helped with that. So we serve an average of 55 households a month. And so when I started, we maybe got 21 or 28 households in a month, and now we're hitting 55 or over. We received, so this donation-based statistic is from food drives, whether that's community, school, parades, us running them at the grocery store, just the average person donating. We've brought in 21,265 pounds of food last year alone. And then we gave out 26,865. So there is a discrepancy. So what we do there is we're purchasing that with the money that we raise at Christmas to make up the difference. And then I'm very proud of our volunteer statistic because the 282 hours are really only 5 or 6 people in the community giving of their time. That doesn't, I haven't included the Christmas, which we have many volunteers that stand at the kettle, either at Value Mart or we added LCBO this year. So really have to hand it to our volunteers because that allows us to run on a leaner staff because right now we have 3 staff for 3 locations. So really, really helpful to have volunteers. Oh, what do we do? Food hampers is our main thing that everyone thinks of us for. So our food hampers include milk, eggs, meat, bread, produce, and then we have your staples like the cereal, the canned goods, all that fun stuff. We do have pet food limited, and then thanks to the IDA, the drugstore, we also have feminine hygiene products and like your toothpaste, toothbrush, all that stuff as well. We do an income tax program, so that's for low-income households. That's deemed by CRA what their threshold is. It depends on how many people are in the house. We do it for free. That means we are not accountants. We require it to be simple. A lot of the people that we do help with this program are on social assistance. So that's, OW or ODSP, and then a rent slip, maybe some medical slips. It's not meant for people who have lots of investments. Although we do get those questions, but it is a free service, volunteers. We run it from March through till September. Right now, we're in the middle of school supplies. So what we do is we provide backpacks with all the grade-related items for the students going back to school. We're really lucky. West Perth is actually, some of the staff are helping out with making that number and making it good for the students, not having to worry about their backpack falling apart on the first day of school. We also, I'll skip ahead to camp because that's next week. We send kids to camp. Salvation Army has a camp off Lake Simcoe. So we drive them up to 3 hours and we drive back up to pick them up and bring them back. That's an experience in itself, but the kids get to be kids for a week, no cost to their parents. They get to be outside on the lake. They get to do archery. They've listed a whole number of things, depends on the weather. So they always have a good time. I think this year we're up to 4 kids that we're sending from Mitchell alone. Then I'll skip back to Feline Friends. So if you have a cat or a kitten, Feline Friends network, they provide us vouchers. So those who have a low income, they can have up to 2 cats spayed or neutered per calendar year. And they have specific vets that they have to go to for that program. And then thrift store vouchers. We don't have a thrift store here in town anymore. We do have one in St. Mary's, so they are more than welcome to take the voucher, go buy what they need there, or they can ask us specifically for what they need, and we will do our best to go shop and bring it back for them. So transportation won't be an issue. So why it matters. I listed a few reasons. There's a lot. Main reason food security matters is overall health is impacted by access to food. If you don't have nutritious food, your body can't function properly. You have higher risk of infection, poor oral health. That's one that we see a lot of people asking about dental benefits, and then chronic conditions, which can make, maintaining employment or being the parent you want to be can make it a lot more difficult. It can affect your mental health. So if your physical health isn't good, it can also affect your mental health. So you've got your sometimes mental health with depression, anxiety, mood disorders. If someone's younger, if we're thinking children in the household, that can affect their development and growth, which then they grow up to be adults and they're already facing challenges, then it costs the system more. So if someone is having physical health issues or mental health concerns, they're needing to access services more, whether that be at a hospital, doctor's clinic, social services like us. They usually need more wraparound services. So that usually means having someone like a social worker come out, and West Perth doesn't have as many options that way. Usually people have to travel out of county, or not out of county, but into a larger center to access that. So again, another cost, transportation, getting there. That's a large one that we've heard aside from rent, is transportation being a reason why people need the food bank. And it's our community. I grew up in West Perth. I know a lot of you grew up here, live here. I think we like to look at our community as being a wonderful place where everyone feels that they fit in, they can excel in life, enjoy life. If they don't have access to food, so they have all those other issues such as physical or mental health, or their kids end up having that, it's not as wonderful to live with. So a large part of why I think it matters to us as a community is we want everyone to excel. Ways to help, donate. So you can donate food. We have our bin at the grocery store. Anytime that they're open, they have bags for purchase, and they've cut us a very good deal with that. You definitely get your money's worth out of that bag when you're donating. And then you can donate funds if you're not sure what is of most use. If you give us the money, like I said, we'll go out and buy if we run out of peanut butter or we run out of meat. We'll go get it. And you can volunteer time if money and fun, food isn't really your option. You can donate your time with a event, or we're pretty flexible. If you can only come for a couple hours once a month, that's fine. If you want to come every Friday morning, because I have a volunteer that does that, that's awesome too. And the last thing I always say is listen and learn. Everyone brings a different story to the table, a different experience, and it's not always cut and dry. Someone can have a great job and life can just kick them when they're down. You can have your car break, you can have your relationship fall apart, you can have to pay first and last month's rent plus a car bill, your kid gets sick, parents, anything like that. It's not out of the realm for any one of us to end up needing the food bank. So listen and learn. Everyone brings a story, and we can always learn as to how we can do things better or what maybe we can avoid doing ourselves. Lastly, I like this quote, no act of kindness, no matter how small, is ever wasted. So honestly, we can think that we're doing nothing for somebody, and then the next time that they come in and say, it was great that you just listened, or it was great that you had cheese whiz. I have not bought that in forever, and that felt like the best treat in the world. So you never know what that small moment can be for anyone. And I'll leave it with anybody have any questions.
Okay, thank you very much, Jennifer. Questions for Jennifer? No questions? Very good job. What's that? Oh, Andrew. Oh, I knew I would get caught. Andrew has a question. Go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, hi. It's somewhat outside of the regular job of counselor, I suppose. But I think I really should have talked to the Salvation Army about 3 years ago when I started doing community gardens here in Mitchell. Is it possible that I could get in touch with you at some point and see if we could collaborate on some more efforts in town?
Yeah, absolutely. We are open to that. I will leave some of my cards behind as well.
Excellent.
Yeah, we're
Thank you.
definitely open to that. I know the community gardens, they have supported us as well with produce. So it's been a great start so far, and I would love to make that even better than it already is.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Love to talk later. Bye.
Okay, we'll make sure that we have a card here or put it in your desk for you, Andrew. Go from there. Okay, moving on. We have with us tonight Paul Seebach of Seebach and Company, and no stranger. This is what's your third visit here?
Yes.
Third year, yeah,
Yes.
yeah. So they are auditors for the municipality of West Perth. So Paul, I'll turn the floor over to you, and you can give us the good news, hopefully.
Oh, it's all good. Thank you very much. Nice to be here. I would like to mention something. I spent the weekend at your ball diamonds watching my grandchild play ball this weekend. And considering the weather, I think you probably have the most treed ball diamonds in the area. And it was glad you had so much shade around. So thanks for all your trees. When we go through our report, there's kind of two parts to it. There's the full financial statements, which we're required to prepare under provincial accounting standards. Then there's a 2-page report we do that has a little more breakdown, few more years of variances, etc. We come here twice a year. This year we were here in December and the last week of February. Wendy and everyone we dealt with was very cooperative, all the other departments, so we appreciate that. We're granted computer access to everything, and anything we asked for was provided for. We are contracted as auditors, and at the end of our audit, we issued a clean audit opinion as stated in the auditor's report. We can also report that after our audit, we didn't find any unusual transactions or significant matters or anything that, issues outside the normal business of your municipality. There's no outstanding issues at the end of the audit, no disagreements over accounting policy, et cetera, estimates, accruals, receivables, or anything of that nature. And as I said, we received complete cooperation, so thank you. Some points I would point out when we go through the statements. They are consolidated, so that includes 100% of the BIA and 100% of the library board. It also includes your share, 6.25% of the ERTH utility. One thing I try to state every year is that our statements are prepared on more accrual basis versus how your budget is prepared. The main differences there is when you prepare your budget, you have to raise enough money to pay for your capital, pay for your principal debt payments, finance, reserve transfers. And we treat some of those things differently. As far as capital, we only depreciate the capital. So you spent almost 6 million on capital and we only depreciate 4.8. So that's a difference of 1.2 million. Your principal payments during the year were 412,000. We only expense the interest, not the principal and the interest, as you would when you raise money for your budget. And we do show the reserves on the financial statements, but we show that as an allocation of the final surplus, so we don't expense your transfers to reserves. And last year that was 1.8 million. So what that explains is when we look at the financial statements, you have a surplus of almost $3.4 million. But when you break that down more to how you present your budget, and as per Wendy's report that she presented in May, you have a surplus of more like 543,000. So it's not like you had a huge gain. As I said, the surplus 3.4 million, and on a more cash basis, it's 543,000. Why are our statements important if they're not a cash basis? The financial statements would have prepared by provincial standards, plus your FIR, financial information report, are forwarded to the province. That's how they see you. I did mention you spent almost 5.9 million in capital. Year before, 3.8. He had budgeted 6.5, but there are a few projects such as the water treatment upgrades, part of some of the bridge replacements, some recreation projects, as every year aren't completed. The effect that has is at the end of the year, you didn't do all the projects, so you have a little more in the bank and higher reserves. One thing that changed this year, your municipal debt is 6.8 million. Last year, 4.2. The big reason there is, we borrowed $3 million to purchase some land. And you also made $400,000 in normal payments. Your debt load is very low. The province, when you submit your FIR, calculates what your maximum repayments can be, basically 25% of your income, and you're only at 8% of that calculation. The last thing I would say is your reserves went up 2.2 million to 22.6 million. You had budgeted at the end of the year to have 19.8. You didn't do all your capital and you had some surpluses that were transferred. So that was all added to the higher reserves. As on the board, maybe the first page would be one more. Yeah, correct. Thank you. So that's basically your balance sheet where you stood as of December 31st. First thing you notice, your bank is up quite a bit, 22.8, up from 18 million. Part of that's your surplus. Your receivables are lower, so then you've got that money in the bank. Your payables are a little higher. You've received some more development deposits, etc. And your reserves are higher, so that's why your bank is that much higher. A lot of that money is tied. 6.3 million is in water and sewer reserve bank accounts. Your accounts receivable a little lower. The year before, you had some outstanding federal grants and some cost sharing programs, so you didn't have those. Your long-term receivables are up. That's basically your municipal drains and tile drain loans, 495,000. Your investments are about the same, 6.5 million. they're at the CIBC, and of that 6.5, 6,164,000 is for the wastewater and water fund. And the last thing under current assets, your investment in government business enterprises, that's basically your share in Erie Thames Utility. That number I always caution is a lot of that is shares, and those are at cost. That's not what the utility would be worth today. The reason it goes up in value is because we add your share of the surplus to that number, and that's why it went up from 4.7 to 4,849,000. So at the end of December, you had $37.8 million in assets, up from 33.5. Things you owed, payables are higher. There's higher development deposits. Deferred revenue was down a bit. You spent a lot of your gas tax during the year that had been kind of stored. What else is in there are development charges, some other unspent grants. One thing that did go up, and that's a calculation, is your landfill closure liability. The new name is asset retirement obligations. You had an engineer report and just some of the variables, mostly having to do with the Mitchell Industrial Landfill site. He thought the estimate should be higher. So what that number is what he thinks numbers you need today to finance, to close the landfill sites and then monitor them in the future. You know, in reality, when you actually do that, you'll fund that out of reserves or actual or current expenses. But the province requires us to put that in there to have in the back of your mind that there's a liability when you close your landfill sites. The municipal debt, we've talked that you added 3 million to it and paid off 400,000. So current liabilities and debt, 16.7 million. So your net financial assets went down a bit, and that's mostly because your landfill obligation went up, and also your debt went up, but the debt doesn't, what you purchased with the debt doesn't show up till below that. So you're still in reality, your financial position did increase. It's just the way it's presented. Tangible assets, 104 million. Those are your roads, your buildings, equipment, etc. Prepaid expenses, inventories. Part of that are supplies for street lights, the arena bar inventory, and prepaid expenses. Then you'll see the land inventory went up because now you've added $3 million of the industrial land purchase. So when you look at your total on the accounting side of it, your total surplus went up from 126 by the surplus 3.3 to 130 million. And the important number there is that your reserves went up to 22.6 million. The next schedule that we've prepared is basically an income statement. They're a little more detailed than our statements, and it has more years. Your taxation is a little higher because you had a little more supplementaries. You've maintained your grant. The gas tax is high this year, 891, because you've kind of stockpiled it for the last couple of years and spent it all this year. The provincial capital infrastructure grant, similar to last year. You did receive another capital grant for EV charging stations, 42,000. Grants from the municipalities, a big one there is the provincial offenses received from the county. That makes up 94,000. Other government grants, various ones. There's a new one to prevent auto thefts. So that's 704,000. Then user fees, obviously the water sewer, the largest, the landfill site, road recoveries, recreation. You can tell has slowly crawled back from the COVID years to 767,000. Other fees, there was monies received, contributed from the Mitchell 150 celebration, 266,000. So that makes up the increase for the 408,000. A big part of your surplus was the budgeted investment income is higher. That's higher interest rates and more money in the bank. So that's the 1.2. Other general expenses, part of that were assumed assets, 364,000. So total expenses, 24 million. If you went through all your expenses that you paid out and you capitalized your capital expenses, 5.8, like you do in your budget, and also your reserve transfers, 1.8. You see you have 23.5 million expenses. If you take 24 million of revenue minus the 23.5, you have 500,000 there instead of the surplus we're showing of 3.3 when we showed appreciation and reverse out the reserve fund transfers. As far as the actual financial statements, the auditor's report shows a clean audit report. There's lots of information here about your municipality. There's a schedule on page 4 about your investments, $6.4 million, how that's broken down. The fair market value of those. There's a large note that we have to do for your investment in the ARTH, and that shows how your contribution is calculated, but at cost and what the total is. There's a note about asset retirement obligations, which is basically your future landfill liability estimates, and why it went up from 2.1 to $3 million because of the engineer's report. Page 7 has municipal debt, and it shows the new loan of $3 million where you've paid $5,000 off, so it shows as $2.99 million. There's a schedule on the reserves. It shows how your reserves went up from 20.8 to $22.6 million. There's also a note deferred revenue, which shows development charges 680,000 and how that was increased. And it also shows other deferred revenues, which is unspent capital grants, 687,000. And there is a note under trust funds. When we talk about trust funds, the most of that are your cemetery perpetuity fund. The concept of trust funds and perpetuity funds is that interest earned on that money is transferred to the cemetery for operating costs. Way back when, that was probably enough to operate your cemeteries. Now it's hardly enough, but that interest is still transferred over. So in closing, I would say, it's a good report. You had a 3.8 surplus plus an operating surplus, 543,000. So it's good to end up with the surplus. When you consider your loan and the increase in the liability, landfill liability, your financial position was maintained. And a lot of municipalities can't do all the capital work without borrowing money. You're able to do all your capital work without new debt, other than the land purchase, which was kind of a unique situation. So I also like once again thank Wendy and the finance department for all their cooperation. And last year I was here in October. You wondered why I wasn't here earlier. So we're here a bit earlier. Are there any questions?
Okay, questions for Paul on the audit? Very detailed document. Thank you. No questions? Okay, thank you very much, Paul. Appreciate you.
No, thank you. Hope you have a
Job well done.
good 2025.
Okay, we do have a recommendation to deal with the audit. And it is that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth receives the 2024 audit prepared by Seebach and Company as presented. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Harold and Deputy Mayor Tunkowski. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Okay, thank you, Paul. Okay, moving on. Yeah. We're got a few items to deal with planning. The first one is application number B2325, and it is with regards to the Jong application, 5323 Road 164. And John, you're the one that's going to walk us through this one, I believe. I got to get caught up here.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie and Council. So before you is consent application B23-25. The owners being Joseph and Linda de Jong. The property is located at 5323 Road 164, and it's just south of Moncton. So the lot to be severed is about 1.36 acres, approximately 55 meters of frontage on the highway there. The lot to be retained is close to 100 acres, with approximately 942 meters of frontage that's broken along the highway as well. So as all surplus farm dwelling severance consent applications go, there's a condition to rezone both the severed and retained portions of the property. The area outlined in yellow will be rezoned A1. This is to recognize the permitted residential and accessory uses. And then the area outlined in red will be rezoned A3 to prohibit any sort of residential development on those retained lands. So a quick summary of the application here. Notice was provided on July 3rd. No comments have been received from members of the public. UTRCA did send comments and they've expressed no concerns. The severed lot is considered appropriate size by the planning department. There's the consolidated farm operation from 5991 line 49 in West Perth, which is just to the south of the subject lands. In consultations with the building department, the dwelling is determined to be habitable. There is a chicken coop on the property. The owners are going to be required to remove that. And they have voiced their approval to include that condition and remove it. And then the MTO has issued comments indicating that access to the retained lands will not be allowed from the highway. And instead, they will be from line 53. And the owners are required to obtain access permits for the severed property. That's the planning staff recommend that West Perth provide recommendation to the Land Division Committee or its delegated approval to support the application. I can take any questions.
Okay, thanks, John. Questions for John on that? Just one that came to mind. So how do they access the farmland now?
Through you, Chair, I'm not too sure. I couldn't tell based on my drive-by. It might be through the highway, but considering MTO didn't provide that in their comments, I would assume that there isn't one. They'll have to access it from the retained lands.
Oh, just wondering, like, obviously, just by the look of your picture there, if it was very large equipment, they wouldn't get through there. With the trees there, not likely. So they must have an access.
It must be from line 49
Yeah,
or
yeah.
sorry, line 53.
53, right, okay. Last call for questions? None? Okay. We do have a recommendation here, and it is that the municipality of West Perth recommends that the County of Perth Land Division Committee or its designate approve consent application file B23-25, and that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth forward the conditions listed in the staff report dated August the 11th, 2025 to the County of Perth Land Division Committee or its designate for consent file B23-25, affecting the property legally described as Lot 15, Concession 14, Logan, in the municipality of West Perth. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Duck, Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you, John. Okay, moving on. I think the next one is yours as well, and that has to do with B25, B26, B27, and B28-25, the Manas subdivision, 34 Clayton Street. So John, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie, again. So these applications before you are located at 34 Clayton Street, as the mayor has indicated. The owners are John and Nancy Van Ness, or the applicant is a numbered company who is, they have an agent, it's a Lincoln Priamo, Connor Wright, who is in the building today. So the proposal, or I should also mention one quick note. There has been some minor edits to a few conditions that I do want to note first and foremost. There was a tree, and there still is a tree replacement condition in each of the applications that is, and that's been modified to remove the specific wording regarding the ratio of tree replacement. Now instead, the wording simply says that the owners plant a sufficient number of trees that will replace any tree to be removed to the satisfaction of West Perth. That's essentially putting the ratio in the municipality's hands when that development agreement gets constructed. So we're trying to leave that condition a little bit open for the municipality to apply the ratio that they wish for each of the lots. The other condition that has been modified is number 9 for B 28-25. And that's been modified to specifically remove the wording regarding stormwater management in relation to an easement that's been proposed. Now the condition will just read that the owners obtain the necessary easements as identified, rather than specifying which easement. This is just to simplify things and to remove wording from that condition. So moving on, the subject applications propose to sever 4 lots and retain a lot to redevelop underutilized lands in the Mitchell settlement area. The image is the original development proposal, which the report summarizes. The overall development plan, however, has changed since obviously this first proposal. So this now is the overall development plan. Just want to keep into note that what we'll be talking throughout this presentation is the first summary of the proposal, as that is what has been submitted. So this is the overall development plan. The overall development plan has is modified from the original to sever in total 7 lots and retain a lot, rather than the original concept to sever 6 lots. The previous estate lot, as you can see, part 1, fronting on Nelson Street there, created off of Nelson Street, is now proposed to be split into 2 lots. 2 lots are proposed off of the not yet constructed Aaron Street to the west as well. These consent applications will be submitted at a later date. So that's why we are proceeding with this application, as you see on the slides. Each of these lots proposed will contain 1 single detached dwelling. So the subject lands are designated residential according to the Mitchell Ward Official Plan. Permitted uses in this residential designation do include single detached dwellings. The subject lands are currently zoned a special Mitchell residential R1 zone, R1-9, in the West Perth zoning bylaw. This special zone restricts the minimum lot area and frontage of the subject lands to the size of the entire block. So what that means is each of the lots to be severed and the lot to be retained will need a zoning bylaw amendment as a condition of consent. The applicants have identified their willingness to go to an R3 zone. Each of the lots to be severed and the lot to be retained meet the minimum lot area and frontage requirements of this R3 zone. The lot to be created through B25-25, that's the lot in yellow, as you can see on the slide above, has an included condition that the lot be further subdivided to ensure the land is used in a more efficient manner than 1 single detached dwelling on a large estate lot. The applicants have also submitted an additional consent application at this time to split this lot into 2. So the applicants are aware of this condition and have such submitted an additional application so that the lot through part 1 will now look like this. However, as I've previously suggested, this is the application as exists today. There is a condition to ensure that it's further subdivided in the future, and the applicants have taken that through submitting an additional consent, not going to be addressed tonight, but at a later date. So the lot to be created, additionally, the lot to be created through B28-25, which is the orange, has an added condition as well that the lot be rezoned to ensure it also get further subdivided in the future. This rezoning will apply a future development zone to the orange area, and that's to ensure that no development occurs before Aaron Street is constructed as identified in the severance sketches to the west. So once the road is constructed, the applicants will be able to apply for their 2 additional severances that will front Aaron Street. So the proposal is within the settlement area of Mitchell, which is the focus of growth and development in West Perth. The proposal is considered a form of infill development, which helps support the continued goal of achieving a complete community as specific wording identified in the provincial planning statement. By dividing the subject lands into multiple parcels that are consistent with the recently approved subdivision to the south and proposed development in the area, the applicants are establishing a land use pattern that more efficiently uses the subject property and existing planned infrastructure. As the owner has agreed to further subdivide the larger lots, that's B25-25 and B28-25, the additional infill will ensure the optimal use of the subject lands. Planning staff are of the opinion that the proposed consents conform to the relevant policies, the county official plan, the Mitchell Ward official plan, the provincial planning statement, and as the development is considered to be a compact form and meets the density requirements for single detached dwellings with a proposed overall of density of 17.5 units per hectare. Planning staff are satisfied by that. As a condition of consent, each of the lots will be required to enter into a development agreement. This is for servicing, specific road improvements. As you can see, Clayton Street is currently a gravel road. Tree replacement, parkland dedication, entrances, etc. So the applicants were required to submit additional studies to support their application prescribed materials. I know that there were a lot of long reads in there, so I appreciate you taking the time to read those, but those included an archaeological study, noise study, planning justification report, tree preservation plan and report, et cetera, et cetera. The archaeological study concluded that since no artifacts were recovered, no further archaeological assessment is required or recommended. The noise study concluded that the lots to be created through B26 and B27-25, that's blue and purple, shall have a provision for central air conditioning throughout the construction of the dwelling, and also through a warning clause registered on title for the residential units, noting that they shall be included in all agreements and purchases, sale and lease, and all rental agreements. This is due to the proximity to the rail line to the north. The noise study also concluded that all of the lots to be created shall have a warning clause registered on title as well, noting that that shall be included again in all purchase and sale agreements, rental agreements, etc. And this is for the general noise of the surrounding municipal land uses. There's a paramedic facility nearby that frequent loud noises come from there. So that's essentially the reason for that recommendation from the noise study. These recommendations are captured through conditions of consent. The tree preservation plan and report identified the removal of 9 trees and 3 vegetation units from the overall site, and the preservation of only three trees. So as a condition of consent, the trees will be required to be replanted at a ratio to the satisfaction of the municipality. So notice was provided to the neighboring property owners on July 18th in accordance with the requirements of the Planning Act. No comments have been received from members of the public at this time. UTRCA did provide that they had no objections. And then the West Perth Consulting Municipal Engineers, BM Ross, provided specific wording regarding Nelson Street, as it's a road that hasn't been assumed at this point, but they've indicated that they have no objections to the consents fronting Nelson at this time. This image will be of the proposed created lots B26 and B27. There we go. You can see that there's a lot of accessory buildings that currently on the property that will need to be removed as a condition of consent as well. So the barn and the buildings as well. And this is the property or the proposed property fronting on Nelson Street. As you can see, there's plenty of room there for 2 lots. So planning staff recommend approval or recommend that West Perth recommend to the Land Division Committee or its designate that they approve it, and I can answer any questions.
Okay, thank you, John. Questions for John on that report? Go ahead, Councillor Bank.
Mayor McKenzie, is there an advantage to doing this in these 2 steps, that the consent application comes today and then a further one splitting those lots later on? Is like a speed advantage or some other technical advantage of doing it separately and not all as one application?
So through the mayor, the reason why specifically the lot onto Nelson Street is being done kind of piecemealed is because the original request from the applicant was to create the estate lot and not 2 lots. So in consultation with the applicant, they have since agreed. The agreement came at a later date. So we are proceeding with that specific application now with the condition that it be further subdivided in the future. So that's the reason why there's 2 different meetings set for that one. As for the orange or the B28, those consents will come at a later date, essentially because we, as a planning staff, would not be able to support the creation of lots without access. Since the road isn't constructed, the road needs to be constructed prior to the approval recommendation. So that's why those ones are waiting as well.
Other questions? Okay, we do have Connor Wright with us, and I think Connor wants to speak to this application as well.
Hello. Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to council for having me here tonight. And thanks, John, for that great presentation. I do have a brief presentation. I think John covered a lot of the main points, so I'll probably flip through it pretty quickly. Just the arrow keys on this thing. Okay. So like I said, it's Connor Wright. I'm a planner with Zelinka Priamo Land Use Planners here on behalf of the owner and applicant. So that's the Vanasses as well as the numbered company there. It's Bob Scott Construction. So flip ahead. This is just an overview of the property. And so this is just a bit of context. You might recall a couple years prior, this was a previous consent application, which essentially just severed off part 2 of this block. So the Vanasse lands, the 34 Clayton lands are part 1. And so part 2 was severed off for a plan of subdivision, which has since gone through and is by and large approved at this point. And so that's what that looks like in context. The far east row of lots there are fully approved, and about half of them are completed in terms of being developed with single family lots. And the remainder of the lots are currently, we're still working out the details of the subdivision agreement, but that's essentially wrapping up. So you can see really in context here, this last block it's effectively just rounding out the subdivision with similar sized lots as came through with the subdivision. So John went over this in quite a bit of detail, but effectively this is the proposal for you today. And this is the ultimate condition. So as John mentioned, once the Rend Street is completed, there's currently corn there right now, but in the future that will be a street that will grant the ability to go ahead with the 2 additional lots. And as John mentioned, the 2 lots in the southeast, the initial consent application coming through today would make the 1 lot, and then there would be the condition to further subdivide it into 2. So John went over a lot of the planning framework here. I'll probably just skip over this. It's conforming with the county and local official plans. And then here's just the context of the zoning. So like I said, the subdivision that came through, it's all zoned R317. And so the principle or the idea here is that this remaining chunk that's currently R19 would just get the same zoning, same kind of lot sizes. So that's the conclusion there. Just to wrap it up, these are consent applications, 4 of them for you today, to sever that remnant block into single family lots. That's generally consistent with the pattern and layout of the approved subdivision and sort of the broader context of the area. So that's really it for my presentation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions for Connor on that or for John? Oh, okay, very good. So we do have a recommendation here. And it is that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth recommends that Perth County Land Division Committee or its designate approve consent application files B 25, 26, 27, and 28-25 as applied for, and that the Council of the Municipality of West Perth forward the conditions listed in the staff report dated August the 11th, 2025 to the County of Perth Land Division Committee or its designate for consent files B 25, 26, 27, and 28-25 affecting the property legally described as Park Lot 47, Plan 339, Mitchell, Municipality of West Perth. We have a mover and seconder for that recommendation. Councillor Rose, Councillor Foster, any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Okay, thank you. And I worked you in as quick as I could, Connor. Connor comes from Toronto and he's got to drive back tonight, so. All right, the next item to do with planning is part law control application number 6, 2025 for Rockwood Homes, which is address is 226 St. George Street. And John, you're going to walk us through this one as well.
Thank you again, Mayor McKenzie. So like most part law control applications that have been before council here, this one is very similar, so I'll be quick. But essentially part law control application 6-2025 is proposing to split a lot in two to create essentially 2 lots, semi-detached for both lots. So it's at 226 St. George Street, essentially across the street from the beer store. So the R plan that's been submitted with the application identifies 2 lots, like previously said, lot 1 being part 1 and lot 2 being part 2. A zoning review was done by planning staff. The zoning complies, and as you can see through this, at least the foundation is in. Planning staff recommend that West Perth support the application.
Okay, any questions? Okay, recommendation is that the municipality of West Perth approve the application by Rockwood Homes Ontario Inc. for the exemption of part lot control and lands legally described as Plan 44M-88 Lot 2 Mitchell in the municipality of West Perth, being all of PIN 53188-0680, and forward it to the County of Perth for approval, and that the approved bylaw be provided to the municipality of West Perth to be registered on title. Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Phelps, Councillor O'Donnell. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. Thank you, John. All right, the next item is 6.2.1, and this is the one that Councillor Foster had a conflict of interest with. Matt, you're going to walk us through this one with regards to a variance to the sign bylaw number 80, 2010.
Thank you, Your Worship. Can you click on that? Yeah, thank you. So the purpose of the application, you can scroll down a little bit, is to seek council's approval for a variance in the exceptional circumstances for 2 sign applications. So just a little bit of background. Building permit applications have been received and reviewed for billboard signs at the above noted properties. Both applications identify a sign face greater than 7 square meters for a single-sided sign face or 14 square meters cumulative area for double-sided sign, which exceeds the maximum allowable size under the current sign bylaw. So you can see the analysis there. It's a double-sided sign measuring 11.92 meters squared, which is 128 square feet. There's MTO permit approval. It has been provided with the application for 7501 line 34. There's ABCA clearance provided, but they didn't need it in that one. The sign location meets the zoning and sign bylaw requirements, and engineered stamp drawings provided with the application. The other one, 6150 Perth line 20, the double-sided billboard sign measuring 11.9 meters squared, again, 128 square feet. The sign location meets the zoning and sign bylaw requirements, and also has engineered stamp drawings provided with the application. So they're permitted to apply for an exceptional circumstance under the sign bylaw, and that's what they're going for here. I can answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Any questions on the sign bylaw? Councillor Harold?
Thank you. So exceptional circumstances is pretty strong wording. So what makes, just looking at this, it appears that they're simply applying for a sign larger than our bylaw allows.
Correct.
I don't, either the bylaw needs to be changed because we're simply out of
James-
date and too small.
James is smiling. I can elaborate
Yeah.
on that. Yep.
Or, somebody better explain what is so exceptional, because I don't see anything other than somebody wanting something that they aren't supposed to have.
Yeah, it's kind of a catch-all, so that if they want to, put multiple signs up on the property, or they want to put up a sign that's bigger than what's allowed, the exceptional circumstances for is what they sign. Probably could have been just a minor variance, it like worded differently, so I know where you're coming from. James and I have actually spoke about this already. The sign bylaw is out of date, so it's from 2010. And the kind of the industry standard, I guess you would say, is the 8x16 or 128 square foot sign. Makes it very simple for the guys or girls on site that are putting it up. They use conventional plywood, and there's no cutting, there's no waste, and it provides good visibility, because if they're stuck to the size that's in our bylaw, it's about half that size. So like an 8x8 sign, and it might work in the city, but it doesn't work when you're going by at, well, you're supposed to be going 80 kilometers an hour, but yeah, so James and I have already talked about that. We just don't have the the resources right now really to kind of dig into something like that, like an amendment to the bylaw, but possibly this fall. I'm kind of speaking for James, but yeah. So yeah, we typically see, like the last one we saw was in 2023. We had one in 2022, and we had two in 2021, and they were all asking for the same thing, the exemption to the overall size.
Any other questions with regards to sign bylaw? I was thinking the same thing, Steve, that, like we've had enough of them now that it's probably time we tweak the sign bylaw.
Yeah, and it's not like a minor variance where you've got the test, like the four criteria that you're supposed to meet. It's just basically you as a council deciding whether it meets the intention of the sign bylaw. So if we've been approving them in the past and it's been working out, MTO approves that size, maybe we should look at amending the bylaw.
Okay, last call for questions? No? Okay. Recommendation is that the Council Municipality of West Perth approves the applications for exceptional circumstances to sign bylaw 80, 2010 for properties located at 7501 line 34 and 6150 Perth line 20. Mover and seconder for that. I gotta look for my Fullerton people. That's right. That's right. He's left. Oh, we got Councillor Harold. Councillor Rose seconds it. Last call for questions. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thanks, Matt. All right, moving on, and I neglected to mention when I talked about Andrew being on Zoom as well. Adam, our roadsman, is also on Zoom, so his report is next. So Adam, talking about fleet purchases, and looks like maybe a new idea for us to deal with. So Andrew, I'll let you give us the good news and talk about it.
Sorry, can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Great, thanks. Through you, Mayor McKenzie and council, tonight I have a report that involves a fleet purchase that was approved through our 2025 budget process. So through that process, we had budgeted $375,000 to replace unit number 85 in the Public Works Department. Is a tandem dump truck. And that dump truck is responsible for hauling and summer operations and obviously winter control in the winter seasons. So obviously there was some unforeseen circumstances, I guess we could say, that happened between budget and now. A lot of economic changes and I guess uncertainty with tariffs that impacted heavy equipment purchases. So it has come to light that we don't quite, I guess, have enough in our budget to purchase a tandem dump truck. So we are looking at utilizing a procurement buying group, which is Canoe. So West Perth has been a part of this for a few years now, but we have not purchased any fleet through it. So we're looking at as this an opportunity for us to get into that, as we are seeing other municipalities take advantage of this group, and they're seeing some savings. So we have received some quotes from Viking Size, which we use for years with all of our winter equipment. They provide all of our plow attachments, sander attachments, so we're quite comfortable using them. And again, we're seeing up to 20% savings with quotes that we're getting in. So we've broken it down into a few options for council to decide upon. So option one would be for us to continue on with our plan as the 2025 budget was laid out to replace number 85, which is a tandem axle dump truck. The anticipated cost of that is $427,433. So with that shortfall, we would use our reserves to cover that cost. Our second option would be to, I guess, switch gears a little bit and replace unit number 71. Unit number 71 is a single axle dump truck, which we use for winter operations in the town of Mitchell and more urban settings. So it has a lower cost there. So we're looking at about $386,280. Again, that smaller shortfall would be covered by fleet reserves. And option three on the table would be to not replace any fleet. It would be to just carry over our number of 375 to next year. We would obviously have to add a bit to that budget to go forward with our plan, and we would then go back to our plan of replacing number 85. But that is the third option, to basically just carry over that value into 2026 budget. So those are the options that we have right now. The nice thing is both of these vehicles, 85 and 71, are recognized in our asset management plan as being in poor condition. So they are both due to be replaced. So right now we have the recommendation to go with option two, which is replacing the single axle dump truck, which is obviously a lower cost, and it also keeps our fleet moving. That's one thing we wanted to ensure that we're still replacing vehicles and we're moving forward. So if anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to take them now.
Okay, questions for Adam? Go ahead, Councillor Ryan, or Councillor Duck, rather, sorry.
Hey, Adam, thanks for the presentation. What was the root cause of them being labeled as poor in the report?
Yes, so through you, Mayor McKenzie, both trucks are they've been heavily used. So wear and tear, I think that a lot of it has to do with preventative maintenance practices in the past. A lot of rust damage on both vehicles. 85 especially, just a lot of heavy use with especially rural snow plowing. We had quite a heavy year this year. We got lucky enough to get it through, but again, just general wear and tear, and it's time for them to go.
Good enough. Other questions, Councillor Foster?
What was the initial reason that 85 was selected over 71 to be replaced this year?
Yes, so through you, Mayor McKenzie, 85 does get more use. So right now, 71 is one of two trucks that we use in urban settings. So if 71 is down, which it is quite often,
we are able to use another truck to carry on, but then we're technically shorthanded. So 85 was chosen because it is a primary vehicle for our rural snow removal practices.
Councillor Vink.
Through you, Mayor McKenzie. Adam, could you elaborate then on the replacement plan for the tandem axle if it's not done this year? And then would you be banking on tariffs being removed at the time of purchase so that it fits in the budget? I'm just not quite following what the advantage to move it to the single axle and get that done sooner rather than get the tandem axle done as the option today.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor McKenzie, I think regardless, we're going to be looking to continue to replace our fleet at a faster rate. I would say that we are a little bit behind with some of our heavier equipment. So regardless, we would probably be looking to replace a tandem in another year or two anyway with another unit. But you know, the advantage here really to move to 71, the idea behind that is to not pause on our fleet, I guess is the best way to put it, to continue to replace fleet that is in poor condition, to utilize our fleet to its maximum potential right now. That, like I said, 71 does sit quite often because there are several issues going on with it at the moment. So really that was the idea behind that, switching gears and going to that vehicle. But we have a need across the board, basically is what it comes down to. So moving forward to next year, if we were to hold off, I wouldn't sit here and say that I would count on any of those impacts being taken away. I think regardless, we would just have to add to that line item and be safe to add, you know, at least another $100,000 to that line item.
Other questions? Councillor O'Donnell.
Through the mayor, thanks, Adam. Unit 85, when it comes with all the attachments, is that ready for snow or what does that mean?
Through you, Mayor McKenzie, yes, that's fully loaded with sander unit, the plow and wing, so that is ready to hit the road.
Thanks.
Councillor Rose and then Deputy Mayor.
Would item number 85, would it have much of a resale value? Like when we get the new one in, can we still recoup some money from the sale of it?
Through you, Mayor McKenzie, absolutely. We would be able to recoup some for sure. The number at this time, I really don't have a good number to throw out there. Wouldn't be comfortable throwing a number out there, but we have seen good prices come in. I mean, last year with our grader, we saw a bit higher of a number than we thought when we put it out. So really it's, you take a chance. Some years you get good value, others you don't, but I think that it is in good enough shape still to demand a bit of a, you know, a fairly good number for us anyway.
Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor McKenzie, through you. Councillor Rose had asked one of my questions on the salvage value. So Adam, you made a comment about the maintenance program. Is it your observation and opinion that an improved maintenance protocol would extend the life of these vehicles? What's your comment on that, please?
Yes, through you, Mayor McKenzie. I think the biggest impact is the salt on these types of pieces of equipment. So for me, it's a more stringent washing of the vehicles when we're done our shifts and when we're parking them overnight. And the other one is the oiling of these vehicles. So we did undercoating on every piece last year, and I will continue to do that annually. So that's something that I think was done kind of sporadically in the past. So we're moving to an annual program for all vehicles.
Yeah, thanks, Adam, for that response. I'm encouraged to hear that because, as you pointed out, the cost of these vehicles isn't going down anytime soon, and with tariffs and whatnot, that just adds to the financial pressure. As you said, you want to keep the fleet moving. We want to keep the fleet reliable when it's needed in winter. I myself, and I'm sure my council colleagues also get calls about the timeliness of the snow removal during the I'll call it the peak demand in the winter. So anything and everything we can do to keep these machines in top-notch condition is important. I guess the other question regarding the salvage value, that money, I presume any money from resale that would be put back into the fleet reserve in the budget for forthcoming purchases?
Yes, that's correct.
Good, thank you.
Councillor Vink.
If we stick with, Mayor McKenzie, through you, if we stick with the current plan to acquire the tandem axle, would be ready for snow removal by October, November of this year?
So through you, Mayor McKenzie, the last discussion I had, yes, that was a potential. If we had gotten this moving forward in August here, then there was a potential that we could have a unit by November. So that may have changed. That was just a few weeks ago, because obviously there could be other municipalities that are jumping in and purchasing vehicles, but there was one on the lot for us if we were going to move that way.
Mayor McKenzie, I tend to stick with our current replacement plan of the tandem axle dump truck and to fund the additional through the fleet reserves. I think it's important that we stick on that plan. It was developed for a reason because it needs to be replaced and quite important for snow removal, I think, coming up this year.
Okay. Councillor Foster again.
This might be more of a Wendy question, Your Worship, but what kind of reserve pressures is the fleet reserve under? Because I brought up my reserve note and I was just wondering if there was much left in it at all, like what was still left in it and what kind of position it was in, and if there was any other fleet items that were of concern that might come up throughout the rest of the year.
I'm not sure if that's an Adam question or a Wendy question.
I can speak to that through you,
Okay.
Mayor McKenzie. So last Wendy and I had discussed the fleet reserve is sitting at $315,480. So that was with an extra 45,000 that got added to the fleet reserve from the sale of a grader in 2024. So as far as pressures go, that's really not anything we can, we don't have a crystal ball. We may see a complete breakdown this year. We don't know, right? So, but there's nothing that we currently know of that is in desperate need of replacement at the time. But like I said, that could all change tomorrow on us.
Deputy Mayor again.
Okay, thanks, Mayor McKenzie. So, given Councillor Vink's comment and your response to Councillor Foster, so if we were to deal with 85, Unit 85, then that leaves us with the issue of Unit 71. Should we be looking at replacing Unit 71 right now at this time based on its, I'll say its physical condition or physical incapacity to operate as a reliable unit, like notwithstanding the amount that we have left in reserve? What are your thoughts? Should we be buying 2 trucks now, just to deal with the availability of the trucks for winter, and also to get ourselves in the queue for a truck so that we can get it sooner rather than later? What's your comment there?
No, that's a great question. So through you, Mayor McKenzie, I do think that, the idea of putting 71 in there was, first of all, the cost savings, and second of all, keep this fleet replacement moving. As I said earlier, 71 is more of a backup or secondary truck for us anyway. We do have a good unit that is in good operating condition at the moment for urban areas. 71 is basically a truck that gets it done much quicker for us. If we have both out there we're getting the job done much quicker. Things are looking better, faster for the residents. At this moment, if we are to move forward with 85, I do not believe that we're in dire need to get 71, but that would be definitely in our 2026 to 2028 lookout, though, to look to replace that within these couple of years.
I guess, thanks, Adam. I would support Councillor Vink's comments that we stick to the original plan and with replacing 85 and then getting in the queue and getting it ready for this winter and get a replacement or sell that vehicle to try and recoup some of our cost and then deal with 71 in the next budget coming up in 26.
I have a question too, but you go ahead. No, go ahead.
Really quick, I was just going to comment on the council's on the 10-year capital plan. 71 is noted in 2028. So just going to highlight that.
A farmer's coming out at me now, Adam. So I see that the 85 is a 2013, but I can't find the year of the 71. And I didn't, when I went through reading it on the weekend, I don't recall it. And I'm just quickly looking here now and I can't see what year it is, the 71. I'm guessing it's newer.
No, through you, Mayor McKenzie. I believe it's an 09. I would have to check too, but it is older.
You
Okay.
are correct, Adam. It's
Okay,
an 09.
all right, okay. My other question is, how many miles are on these units? Do you know? Kilometers?
That is in the asset management plan. I could pull that up and look at that as well, but there would be more on the 2013 as it travels much more than the 71.
Yeah, longer routes, so
Yeah.
I just wondered, you know, how wore out we are here, you know, with the miles.
Sorry, I can give you 85. On the last check, 85 is at 170. And 71.
It's just broke in.
71 is showing at 48. I will add, though, we've started tracking operating costs on 71 in 2024. Sorry, it's working on this. It was just under 10,000, and then in 25 it's up to 26 already. So
yeah,
repairs.
Okay, yeah, no, fair enough. My other question, Adam, can you explain this canoe procurement group a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So through you, Mayor McKenzie, it's basically a buying group for municipalities, and I guess contractors as well, but businesses, or I guess in Fleet's case, dealerships would have to be signed up to offer their services on Canoe. So basically they put out what they want to offer, whether it be just loaders, just dump trucks, maybe it's pickup trucks, and they offer discounted prices based on, you know, how many you're purchasing, or you know, what it is exactly that you're looking for. They may have equipment that may not meet a specific spec, but if it's a spec that you're willing to bend on, you can save, like I said, upwards of 20 even more %, right? So it is basically just a buying group. I don't know if I don't want to put any pressure on Wendy here or anything, but I'm not sure if we've used it at all in the municipality for any purchases. I know we haven't for fleet, but if or Dan, if you have any further comment on that.
Wendy's making her way to the front here. I think she has some information on that. So we're probably going to change that, eh?
Yeah, so we take advantage of a couple buying groups that are offered. So basically consider it kind of like piggybacking. So if they've done all the work on procurement and they have tendered, and that's the results. So it saves us from tendering, and it meets all the check boxes for municipalities for procurement. It just allows us to kind of piggyback off of that purchasing power without having to do the tender ourselves. So they're all listed on our website, are the ones we have contracts with.
Oh, thanks, Wendy. Okay, any other questions with regards to Adam's report? So I have a prepared recommendation, but I think I'm going to open it up for whatever you want to do. And we'll go from there. Councillor Foster?
I would like to propose we go with option 1 of replacing the dual axle number 85 for that's the more expensive option. And then we get that one replaced and then move on with 71 when it's in the financial plan or whenever comes
Whenever
up.
it's due, yeah. Okay. You kind of got that, James? Okay, so we have it moved by Councillor Foster. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Vink? Any further discussion or questions on that? Okay, everybody knows what the motion is. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, then that is carried. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
All right, next item is the Director of Community Services. And Nick, you're going to walk us through this one, and part of that is the quarterly report, and part of it is the arena task force recommendations. So I tried to move this as fast as I could. So I appreciate you guys waiting here. Go ahead, Nick.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mayor McKenzie and members of council. Before you is the Q2 2025 Community Services Activity Report. Over the past 4 months, our facilities team has been working under a new 2-shift schedule, which means we now have a lot more coverage during our evenings and weekends at our facilities when they are busiest. This allows us to better support our sports within our parks, our trails, and pool operations and community events. The feedback from user groups has been overwhelmingly positive, with people noticing improved facility readiness and faster response to any issues. On the funding side, while we were unsuccessful with our Canada Summer Jobs application, we did secure Canadian Parks and Rec Association Green Jobs funding to support one of our parks labor positions for the summer. Update on capital projects. They've moved forward well. Recently completed the install in Dublin Hall and the washrooms, our new card access system, which keeps us in line with all our other facilities within Mitchell and here at the municipal office. We finished all our pool and splash pad upgrades before opening up for the summer. We replaced our ergonomic office furniture, or replace ergonomic furniture here at the municipal office, and also completed the memorial wall over in the community room here. We've also completed the Fullerton Diamond lighting out at the ballpark there. Ketterson Park batting cage has been completed, along with the fencing along the playground here at Ketterson as well. And we've also had a donated water bottle fill station at the library, courtesy of Sherman Plumbing. Ongoing projects include the walk-in cooler, which has been delayed until September, and the Kinsman Park water hookup, which has slowly started but is still pending, waiting for our contractor. Pending products include our bike racks, some benches, picnic tables, a level 3 EV charger, and upgrades at the Ag Society Fairgrounds here. Program participation remains strong. Kids Corner was running at full capacity leading up to the summer. Summer camps have had great attendance starting there in June, and our youth center drop-in program is averaging 11 to 12 youth per night, which is 1 night a week through the summer. Swim lessons, pool memberships, and attendance are also up thanks to the warm start to the summer. And the Athlete of the Year wall is complete, and nominations for this year's awards are now open. Facility rentals remain steady and diverse, serving everything from sports groups to community meetings and private functions. Our ice allocation process was completed under the new policy. It went really well working with our ice user groups, and I feel that this process allowed for a fair and equitable process for all ice users who took part in the process. Lastly, our Environment, Forestry and Trails Committee is moving forward with the long planned wetlands burb line using donated materials and labor with completion target for the fall bird watching season. Kind of outside the report or outside of the report, a storm update for the repairs and outdoor facilities here at Ketterson and the tennis courts. Materials for the tennis courts have been procured and we're waiting on them for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then that'll be repaired over there. Diamond A with the mesh being pulled down in the storm. We're also about 2 or 3 weeks out on that. Once received, we'll get that up right away. Diamond D, lighting remains a more complex issue. As I'm sure most are aware, the existing light standards installed in 1994 by Titan Towers, Trilon manufacturing, out of Elmira, are no longer directly compatible with current Trilon components. Trilon is reviewing archive drawings from the 90s when they were installed to identify the exact model. Once identified, manufacturing replacement sections is expected to take 6 to 8 weeks. Regarding comments about adding more fixtures to existing light standards, it is critical to undertake a detailed engineering assessment of the poles and electrical systems. Lighting design plans should be reviewed by a qualified lighting engineer, and local regulations must be consulted. This ensures safety, compliance, and optimal lighting performance while avoiding unexpected costs and risks. The tennis court and ball diamond storm repairs will form part of the municipality's insurance claim along with storm-related repairs from other divisions. The municipal deductible is $10,000, and with not all figures finalized yet, tennis courts and ball diamond repairs alone will exceed that amount. That concludes my report. If we have any questions, I'll take them now.
Okay, questions for Nick? No, oh, Deputy Mayor?
Thanks, Mayor McKenzie. Through you, thanks for your report, Nick. Question on the ice allocation. I believe currently we're using ice obviously at Mitchell, but also the Alma Logan facility in Moncton. In the course of the allocation discussions, was it discovered that we have a regular need of ice from a third site? How did that discussion play out?
Through you, Mayor McKenzie, at this time with the open borders and zone hockey, I don't think we at this time need a third site.
A follow-up if I could. So was there much difficulty trying to fit everybody into the time slots that they wanted? Or any discussion of that nature that caused any issues?
Through you, Mayor McKenzie, trying to fit everybody where they want all the time is always a concern and an issue. I think with the way our new policy was laid out and the preparedness of staff going into this meeting, we best fit the best needs for each group to the best we could within Mitchell, and then utilizing what remains in Moncton.
Then one other question, if I could, were there any user groups from outside of West Perth looking for ice at either of the two facilities? Like any request directed through you for ice from outside vent places?
Through you, Mayor McKenzie, there was one for sure, and that'd be the what are they? The Southwest Admirals, which is based out of Mitchell to Goderich. Through the zone play league, if you will, they were expecting minor hockey groups to allocate ice to this type of team, and with the ice needs that we have within West Perth, we couldn't accommodate a team like that until we were done with our ice allocation. And through September and part of October, we have given out some ice to this team just with what hockey and ringette and skating didn't need through that time and when their start times are, and that includes curling as they don't start till November. So we were able to give them a bit of time once our allocation process was over.
There was nobody from Seaforth or St. Mary's or Milverton coming to you looking for ice at Mitchell or that?
Through you, Mayor McKenzie, not that I was aware. I know in the past Central Perth has come this way looking, but from what I understand this year, we didn't have any of those requests.
Good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Foster.
How well received was your new ice allegation policy by the groups?
I think through you, Mayor McKenzie, I think for the most part, it was received well. There's obviously people or groups that may not be fully happy with the process. But again, this is a 2-year trial, so to work through it this first year, I think went well with everything being said. If we'll reassess and like we agreed after the 1 year here, and then we'll do it again next year. And then once we figure out where everything's going with the zone hockey, open borders and everything else, and then we'll have to reassess again. But at this time, it went well.
Anybody else? Okay, if not, the recommendation that we have is that the municipality of West Perth receives the Community Services 2025 second quarter activity report for information. A mover and seconder for that, Councillor Phelps and Councillor Duck. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And the Mitchell District Arena and Community Center Task Force. Just before we get started on that, if you guys want to take a front seat, you can. You still don't have to sit in the very back. But I do want to express our appreciation and thanks to this group for taking the time involved to read the material. And I think we had, what was it, 3 or 4 meetings to express your ideas and that. So I do want to let you know that we certainly appreciate your involvement in that. So on that note, I'll turn it over to Nick and go from here.
Thank you, Mayor McKenzie. Through you, tonight's report outlines the progress of the Mitchell District Arena Community Center Task Force and seeks council's direction on moving forward with the next steps in the possible redevelopment process. The task force was formed in April 2024 with 10 citizen members, 1 council representative, and our mayor. Over the past several months, they've met to review building condition assessments, examine redevelopment options, and consider the facility's long-term needs for the community. The building condition assessment identified a number of repairs required to maintain the existing structure. In parallel, we reviewed 4 potential redevelopment options. 1, maintaining the existing facility with only the necessary repairs, completing targeted upgrades to extend the life of the facility, a partial redevelopment and expansion, a full reconstruction of the arena and community center. After careful review of costs, amenities, and feasibility, the task force reached a unanimous recommendation to pursue option number 3, the partial redevelopment and expansion. Under option 3, a new ice pad would be added onto the existing building, complemented by a new centralized entrance and reception area, dedicated staff offices, additional storage, and modern meeting spaces. The existing ice surface area would be repurposed into a year-round indoor field house. This option also includes potential amenities such as a youth center, indoor walking track, and space for a public library. These features would allow the facility to support a wide range of recreational, culture, and community activities all year long. The estimated cost for option 3 ranges between 17.5 and 23 million, plus the building condition assessment repairs. These figures do not include inflation adjustments or potential grant funding. We are requesting from council tonight the authorization to move into a public engagement phase. This would involve community meetings, surveys, and outreach to gather feedback and recommend on the recommended option, assess the level of public support and willingness to contribute through fundraising, municipal levy, or other means, explore grant opportunities and partnerships to offset municipal costs. We are also recommending the council approve the development of Ketterson Park site plan to ensure the proposed redevelopment integrates seamlessly with existing amenities. The site plan work is estimated at $12,000 and could be funded through the Recreation and Parks Reserve. From a financial perspective, even with this project, our debt capacity would remain within provincial guidelines. However, inflation and construction costs trends mean we must be strategic, potentially phasing the work while aggressively pursuing external funding sources. To summarize, task force believes option 3 offers the best balance between meeting community needs, providing multi-use facilities, ensuring long-term value for the municipality. Public input will be critical next step before any final decision is made, and proposed site plan will help position us to move forward officially once the decision comes. I look forward to council's discussion and direction this evening, and if you have any questions, I'm willing to take them now.
Okay, thanks, Nick. Questions? None. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, Mayor McKenzie, through you. I agree. Thanks again, Nick, for your report. Thanks also to Councillor Chessel for chairing the group and the community volunteers who participated in the process. And I appreciate the time and effort and the consideration that they've taken to get us this far. In your report, Nick, you mentioned public input will be critical. I couldn't agree more. Can you give us a little more detail, like what you mentioned it briefly, like will there be public meetings, some kind of a survey that ratepayers can provide comments and feedback? Like what kind of a timeline are we looking at here for this public engagement process?
Through you, Mayor McKenzie, I think all of the above. We'll do open houses, we'll do public feedback through surveys, whether it be online or through the mail, however we want to choose to go about that. Any other, put up booths maybe at the fair, in the arena and things like that, where the public are going to be, to inform public of what could be happening or what way we're looking to move. And then a timeline that all I think depends on where we want to go from tonight and see what we want to do. And if we want to move forward fairly quickly, we can work together with staff and put a plan together. And then if we want to hold off and discuss and meet and go from there, we can do that too. It all depends how you want to move with this.
Okay, and then I guess part of that discussion, we're inevitably, well, there'll be two parts of it that I can see. I guess what do people in the committee, what do people in the community want to see out of the facility in the future? The working group the task force has identified what they'd like to see. I know the recreation master plan update identified some things, but that was, I would call that a small sample size. It wasn't necessarily a community sample size. So there's that part. And then the other question is, where will the money come from? So I'm looking for answers to all those questions right now, but I'll yield the floor for my colleagues to make their comments. Thanks.
Councillor Vink.
Mayor McKenzie, I think that's an important part of the package that we will need to put together to inform the public of both the need for the facility, but how would we expect to pay for it? And I see in part of the recommendations exploring funding options, but I think that will be a critical decision point for us here at council on how we're going to fund a project like this one based off of the need out there. So, but before we get to public consultation, I think we need to put a robust package together that we can consider around the council table that goes out to the public, so that they can be informed when they're making these public meetings and surveys, that they have this kind of information about the funding sources. And so combining together the needs from the recreation master plan and the recommendations from the task force, together with then the potential funding that whether it is by sponsorship or whether it is by tax dollars, I think that comprehensive information needs to be available to support our public meetings and consultation.
I think you're correct on that, Councillor Vink. I think one of the key things is, and I know staff are working on that, we have to zoom in on some costs and it's going to be hard. And we can talk to people that have built arenas recently. But with what's going on with tariffs and steel and aluminum, it's going to be a guess kind of at the best of times. I think from anything that was built even a couple of years ago or 3 years ago. But I think we do have to have a firm handle on some costs. And I believe, Nick, if you want to elaborate a little bit more, but you're in the process of talking to various individuals and I would say experts in the field to get a handle on that.
So through you, Mayor, a quick comment, the newest facility around us would be Wellesley. And his comment was when I met with him right away at 15% from 2 years ago. So that's kind of roughly where you got to look at. And that was a $27 million facility, 4.5 million fundraised and 16 million through grants or one grant.
Councillor Harold?
Thank you. On the topic of timeline, I think we need to be in a hurry to put together a good package. The sooner we get it out to people, the more time we have to make a good decision versus a bad one. And it gives people time to digest the information. So we have a meeting, we give them information, they ask questions, they go home, they have time to think about what they heard, and they're ready for questions for the second meeting. You know what? So I think getting the information out, especially if we want to do something at the fair, that's coming up super quick. So as far as I'm concerned, timeline it's important and imperative that we get a good package put together as quick as we can and get it out to people and give them time so that they and we have opportunity to look into things that maybe we don't, the unknowns, right? And as far as worried about the tariffs and that, like, you kind of have to use the numbers you have. You can't be hopeful because we just don't know if that's reasonable. In fact, we don't even know if tariffs will go up, but we can at least use the numbers we have currently.
Anybody? Oh, Councillor Foster, sorry.
I was wondering if you want something at the fair, what kind of, does staff feel that they could make a reasonably good package by the time the fair is out? Because council doesn't meet before then, so that would have to be reviewed at staff's discretion, I would guess, or maybe the mayor's or someone like that. I was just wondering what you thought you could have for the fair.
I think through you, Mayor McKenzie, I think working with, James and Dan, Lindsay, and current recreation staff, we can probably put together a fairly informed package of what, at least what we've come up with our task force. And, even present our 2005 drawing, even though it won't be relevant per se of the location, but at least it's an idea of what we have. And so I think they get an idea, and we propose some of the other thoughts that were in the report, whether it's the library or the youth center or other ideas, and then you leave that open to the public to comment and give the feedback on what they think is needed, if it's needed here in Westport.
I think I would just make the quick comment that a comprehensive package is a bit of a moving scale here. So, if the information provided tonight to council, taking that and cleaning it up and unpacking it a little bit, if that's what council considers comprehensive, then I think that's a fine target to bring forward to the fair. Otherwise, I think the opportunity for us at the fair would be to have an initial, more of a simple type of survey or interactive survey, and we would be promoting some dates for a public open house where we would have that package available at that point in time. So I think if we can unpack what that package means, and if it's outside of the information in this report, that would certainly help staff bring what council envisions as a comprehensive package. I'll add, we're always getting new information. We're meeting with construction vendors to see what's possible and try and get numbers, etc. But if we can really hone in, and I realize that's what we're trying to do through the feedback option, but hone in on one of these options, then we can focus our attention on that option and getting more and more numbers. Because as of right now, we're kind of focused on 4. So that'd be some of the information we'd be looking for from council.
And Councillor Brink and Deputy Mayor. So Councillor Foster first.
I would think it would be kind of whatever, I would think it's a package like a early or a light package of like just a cleaned up report of this to me, and then some surveys and that nature would be what I would think would be good for the fair, because good bit of information plus the public, and then more information for them at a later date would be what I would think is reasonable, but I'll leave it to my colleagues.
Councillor Brink.
Mayor McKenzie, I was wondering if maybe either Nick or Diane would comment on, obviously the task force is recommending the option number 3, but they must have considered the funding needed to make option number 3 happen. So would they have a gut reaction to what the task force is recommending in terms of funding that they saw the need, but then they also could handle the need or the funding requirements through a levy as an example in tax dollars?
Who are you asking the question to?
Either Nick or Diane, just to get like a gut check on the task force recommendation on yes, there's a need, but also is there a want to spend that kind of money in the community if taxes have to go up by 15% to cover a $27 million building.
You want to take a stab at that, Diane, or you want Nick to do it? Or Dan, yeah, whoever.
I'll take the stab at it, and I'll recognize that there's members here, so maybe I'll put that plug in that if any want to come up, I think they could for you, your worship. It wasn't fully discussed, but I would say the conversation did happen quickly. As you can see, they saw the same information council is tonight on the levy. I would say it's likely not as unanimous on how to fund it, but they were aware of the cost to the impact. But I think they were also hopeful that there would be some grant and some sponsorships that would be close to or equivalent to what we've been seeing in other municipalities when they've built new facilities of this nature. Hopefully that answers it.
Councillor Phelps? Oh, just a sec.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, Dean was first, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, thanks again, Mayor McKenzie. I guess as far as an information package for the public, preparing that before the fair, we've got 5 things we can draw from. Like, we've got the roofing report that council received in November. We have the building condition assessment that was received earlier this year. We have the task force meeting minutes and their comments and recommendations. The finance department, they have compiled a significant document outlining the various 4 options, the dollars involved, the impact, projected potential impact on the levy based on those dollars. That finance department provided that at the July 14th task force meeting. And we also have information to draw from on their rec master plan that council received earlier this term. So I think we've got a lot of sources of information that we can draw from, that we can present to the public to explain how we got here and explain why we've considered the 4 options and give them some insight on the costs and consequences of the 4 options. So I think we've got enough information to draw from. Just a matter of compiling it and getting it ready in time for the Labor Day weekend. Thanks.
Councillor Phelps.
Just the other thing in the survey, there's always the parking lot that someone brings something in, we can always add it and take it on further, that they have a suggestion or someone to use that arena. The other thing, being involved in fundraising over the years, I would suggest that we consult a professional fundraising company because we're not talking 100,000, we're talking millions. And those people, even though they take a percentage, just like your financial advisor, if you're making money, they're making money. But they are geared to that $1 million fundraising thing. And working in my past with them, it's amazing where they draw money from because they think of places that just as a community fundraiser, we do not. And most of them will come in and give you a consulting at no charge and give you a direction and what they'll think they could fundraise out of the community and area. So again, it's a huge project. Love to see it go forward, but we need to do the money and it shouldn't be on the backs of the ratepayers that, you know, not everybody agrees with the arena, but it's a great community thing. And I think there's so much more potential for the old ice pad and a new ice pad for indoor pickleball and basketball and things that we can expand on, and cricket, and, you know, like they said, that's the thing that's coming, right? And more soccer and indoor. And you see a lot of these other facilities, large facilities in the spring, they're already doing baseball training and soccer training in those places that were old ice pads. So, but I strongly recommend we look at a couple of options to see if we can find a fundraising company and get their opinion.
Anybody else? Oh, sorry, Councillor Vink again.
Could we also have a discussion, Mayor McKenzie, around whether we want to spend that $12,000 on a site plan as part of that recommendation before the public meeting or after the public meeting?
I'm not sure, could we have something like that done before the Labor Day weekend?
Mayor
Oh.
McKenzie, not necessarily have that
Oh.
done before, but have the discussion whether we want to spend, because part of the recommendation from staff is that we spend the $12,000 on the site plan, and that helps inform the public consultation. So what I'm asking is maybe around this table, should we spend that $12,000 to do a little bit of a site plan work to help inform the decision, or leave that till after we have some public feedback? So I was just wondering the need for the site plan and where that gets positioned in before or after public consultation.
I think, and I'll let Dan or Nick answer that, but I think there is a definite need for a site plan from discussions that have occurred. Who wants to field that one?
Yeah, I can
Dan?
take it, Your Worship. Thank you. So around the site plan, probably how it really came to forefront was when we were discussing the option 3 and in the, sorry, I think it was 2005, right, was the original plan, the expansion plan? Yeah, thank you. The 2005 expansion plan. Just looking at that and what impacts that would have on existing ball diamonds and things of that nature was quite a conversation topic around the committee. So really trying to identify what the build out of the park would look like. And then when staff went back and consulted the Ketterson Park master plan, we didn't have a robust site plan in existence for the park. So the nature of the site plan is really twofold. It's one, to kind of build out the existing park as it sits today, taking the expansion of the arena just completely out of the picture. You know, this is where, you know, a ball diamond would go, or what are the other amenities that could be included in that park would go, or where existing amenities should stay for the duration of the park. In addition to that, it's a secondary option to look at what makes sense for the expansion of the arena, and noted in option 3. Is it to go off of the, sorry, I'm just going to get my bearings for a second, off the east side as initially planned, or does the, you know, the loss of the diamond there or impact on that diamond, proximity to the new pavilion, is there any impacts that that could have? Or does it make sense to kind of go maybe eat up the parking lot and have a different entrance into the park off of another street and really rejig things around? So there were quite a few options being discussed at the committee table. So we thought, you know, if we can get ahead of this and have some of these options presented, it might help with the public engagement, public feedback options. So that's the story behind site plan.
Councillor Foster.
Any idea how long a site plan would take to make?
We're looking at a 4 weeks. Is where we've got.
So probably by our second meeting in September.
Thereabouts, yeah. Other questions? So I'm looking at James here now. So with regards to the site plan, we should probably have a separate motion with regards to that, should we not? If we want to go ahead with that.
I'll leave it to the will of council. Certainly you can split the motion up, at this time. Yeah, let's go ahead and split the motion up, deal with the, first two clauses that you see before you, and then you can deal with the third clause as a separate motion, if that's the will of the chair and council. So we would deal with,
Well, yeah, I guess
So
it is part of the other motion.
It is,
So
yes.
Either one way or the other, it's going to be considered.
Correct.
I'll look at Counselor Vink. Would you like it as part of the overall, or do you want a separate motion altogether? Okay, all right. Counselor Foster.
What about our staff direction for what we're gonna do for the fair? Is that included in the assessed community support, or does that need words added, or what do we need to do around that?
Through the discussions around the table, I think we'd be comfortable with bringing a comprehensive package to the fair, if that helps.
So in order to do that, we don't have to add anything to the motion necessarily. It's encompassed, well enough encompassed.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, concerns? Okay, we have a fairly lengthy motion here. And the recommendation is that the municipality of West Perth direct staff to initiate a public engagement process, including public meetings and surveys, to gather feedback on the task force recommendation of option 3, partial redevelopment and expansion. Assess community support and interest in the proposed redevelopment. Explore potential funding options, including public fundraising, a municipal levy, available grants, and other sources. And that staff be directed to continue discussions with industry experts and municipal partners to understand the best practices and processes used in similar recreation facility projects. And further, that staff be directed to proceed with the creation of a Kitterson Park site plan to determine how the recommended redevelopment can be integrated into the existing park site and utilize the Recreation and Parks Reserve, up to $12,000. So that's the motion, Deputy Mayor.
I'll move that.
Moved by the Deputy Mayor, seconded by Councillor Phelps. Further discussion? Like they say, Deputy Mayor again?
If I could, Your Worship, I can't help but think of the old Rolling Stone song. Can't always get what you want, but sometimes you'll get what you need. So I'm looking to this process to deliver something to that effect.
You're coming from the other side. My saying on this is speak now or forever hold your peace. Okay, any further comments? It's been duly moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? The motion is carried. Well, thanks, Nick. And thank you to the committee again. Moving on. Second quarter 2025 financial update. I'm just maybe going to pause here for a minute. Does staff want a washroom break or a bit of a break here right now? Like we've gone on fairly well. Yeah, we'll take 5-7 minutes. Yeah. Yeah, I can ask them too. I think we'll get started here. Dean will be back shortly. So Wendy, yeah, we're down to our second quarter financial update. So yeah, here's Dean now. So good. Okay. Floor is yours, Wendy.
Okay, well, thanks, Mayor McKenzie, and good evening, council. So Q2 or quarter two variance report, nothing too surprising in that one. There wasn't much change as far as the numbers go from the first one to the second one. So we're seeing some of the similar things is that your winter maintenance costs are definitely hitting harder than they have historically. So in the report, it talks about there's only 18% remaining in the budget for winter maintenance, where typically we're around 40. So that is one we're going to watch and see what kind of, hopefully we have a nice mild fall into the winter. Your wages are you have 56% remaining for your wages, so that's good. We're 50% through the year. A lot of times that is seasonal employment and posting it through. So we were happy to see that. Staff did comment on a few of their maintenance line items that they're seeing higher costs come for maintenance. And I think that's just going to be reflective in the 10-year capital plan. But just something that they kind of noticed that their maintenance costs are going up. Capital costs, they were relatively low. We haven't really gotten into the meat of a lot of our capital projects, which will be Wellington Street. It's at 2.2 million. So yeah, if there's any questions or you want me to elaborate on any of the details in the report, I'd happy to.
Okay, thanks, Wendy. Any questions for Wendy on that quarterly report? Okay, I don't see any hands going up. So the recommendation is the municipality of West Perth receives the second quarter financial update report for information. Moved by Councillor Phelps, seconded by Councillor Harold. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And streetlight special levy policy framework.
So this one here, we got started looking at the writing the policy, and this report is written to help give staff direction on kind of next steps. We definitely saw pros and cons for different ways to look at it. And so staff have recommended in the report that we look at the settlement areas for the little rural areas. So right now you have 11 communities or reserves, and that partly with the settlement boundary area realignment will fix some of the issues we have with Mitchell being Buyer Court, Fisher Road, and Frank Street. And then we also have Ritz Villa in there. So that will clean that up. We thought settlement area was a better feel because it aligns with planning policies and growth outliers. There are some communities that causes some hiccups with doing settlement area. And the biggest one to highlight would be Broadhagen. Currently, the streetlight area that's being area rated is at one end, and the settlement area is a longer area. And so there would be more, if you went with staff's recommendation, that is one area that would be a bigger area to draw the area rate from. The second area that we're looking for council's direction on is how to charge out the rate. So currently we're kind of half and half. Half is flat rate and half is assessment based. And we just feel that maybe flat fee would be the best option because you're taking the cost. So just say it's $1,000 and you've got 10 lights or 10 properties, everyone's paying $100. And so it's not based off assessment. So if someone has $1 million assessment and somebody else has $100 assessment, we felt that streetlight benefit would be the same regardless if you had the higher assessment or not. So that was our framework around the recommendation. There are some other nuances that we do have, and we'll work around them. We do currently have 3 cost sharing agreements that I'm gonna say are more of a handshake agreement, and that is with North Perth. Right now they're paying 50% of the hydro costs and maintenance costs. And then Huron East is paying, for Dublin and St. Columban, and those are assessment based, so we have to pull that information to get that. And then Ritz Villa, we have a cost recovery based on a hydro account. So we would be looking at kind of tidying up those, whether they're more formalized in an agreement, or in the instance of Ritz Villa, maybe it just incorporate it into the Mitchell urban or settlement area. I can go through some examples if you'd like on some of the issues we saw, if you don't feel that you want those two options, or if you want to look at different options.
Personally, I think you've got the options there. I don't think we need to look into them. The one question that I had was with Ritzville, like their Hydro One or their Earth. I assumed that they were Hydro One, so like, why are we, like, it's basically the lights that go in their driveway. Is that what it is? Or is there's a light or two on the highway?
I can't say for sure.
Like, if it's just the lights that go in their driveway, like, why aren't they just built on the highway going out? Oh, right, yes, off of Frank Street. Yes, I forgot about that. Yeah, okay, all right, no, okay. Are we good with Wendy's report here? Is there any questions? Okay, Counselor Foster?
I thought we weren't allowed to do flat rate.
We can't do flat rate so we couldn't do a flat rate across the whole municipality. And so it's the principles of taxes are assessment based. But under the act, if you define a special area, you can, and then your options are you could do it by assessment, frontage, area, flat.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we got a recommendation here that Municipality of West Perth receives the Streetlight Special Local Levy Policy Framework Report, and that council directs staff to use the settlement areas within the county official plan to determine the benefit areas or benefiting areas, and that council directs staff to use a flat fee method of charging for the proposed streetlight special local levy policy. Mover and seconder for that? Councillor Rose, Councillor O'Donnell, all those in favor? Opposed, if any, that is carried. And the sale and reinvestment of principal.
So this one is just more update from the report that was given back in March. So looking at those investments, we cashed them out, and we made more than anticipated gain on them. So we profited $1.2 million on that investment. So what we've done is we've reinvested it into similar products. So they're called principal protected notes, and so you have two of them. So we sold. So the way they work is one is going to be maturing in 28 and the other one 29. And then from there, what we've done is we've structured them similar to what they were, is on principal protected note, just in the funds that you're in. It's a variable interest rate, and we get 60% of the participating rate with no maximum. And then on the second note, again, it's different buckets of investments that are in there. And on that one, we get 100% of the variable interest, but our participation rate is at 23.5%. So that's what happened on the last one. We hit the cap, so we weren't going to gain anymore. And so that's part of the reason why we cashed out, and it was a good return. So we thought we'd take advantage of that. So those funds come from your wastewater reserve, so they'll be reinvested into that. So you'll see your reserve balance go from approximately 10 million to 11 million. So that's a good news story.
Early years, good. Counselor Foster.
How come we don't do them all the second way and cash them out early? If we get a higher percentage of the return and then when it hits the cap, we can just cash out, or is there a large cost to cash out?
They weren't making money not too long ago, a couple years ago. So when we look at those investments, they're principal protected notes, so your principal is always protected. If you cash out early, you could potentially lose money. If you wait to maturity, you're risking only your principal. So it's kind of like don't put all your eggs in one basket. So these two are what our CIBC investment advisor advised doing, and they're very structured, they're very same as the other ones. And so since we did really well on those ones, we went into these ones.
Thank you.
Other questions? Okay, we have a recommendation here that Municipality of West Perth receives the sale and reinvestment of principal protected note information report. Mover and seconder for that. Councillor Phelps. Councillor Foster. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Thank you, Wendy. Okay, your show is on the road here. James?
Great, thank you through the chair. Pleased to provide this report this evening regarding a newly drafted gifts and benefits policy. So this policy is really about giving us as staff clear direction for those occasional situations where after placing a large order, staff receive an unsolicited gift that they can't send back. Sometimes this might be something that we can actually use for municipal operations, say for example, a tool or a piece of equipment. And in that case, we would deploy that to the service area where it makes the most sense. Other times, it might be something we can't really use in the municipality, say a branded cooler or a clothing article. In those cases, this policy sets out a policy for documenting it, getting approval from the CAO, and then essentially doing something like raffling it off at a staff party so that it's handled fairly and transparently and there's an equal opportunity for all staff. The policy applies to everyone. So staff, volunteers, our fire department personnel, along with council and committee members. It reinforces our existing conflict of interest rules. And what that means is that no one should accept a gift if it could be seen to influence their decision or their duties. It also complements our employee handbook and most importantly, our council and committee code of conduct. And it brings us in line with best practices at other municipalities. There's really no direct financial impact from us adopting the policy this evening. It's about fairness, consistency, and protecting that public trust element. So the recommendation tonight is simply that council approve the gifts and benefits policy, and I'm here to answer any questions if council has any.
Questions for James? Councillor Foster?
Who decides if it's for municipal use or not?
Yeah, so typically that's going to occur through the purchasing process, which is done by department heads or directors. So the department head or the director is going to make that determination in consultation with appropriate staff, be it human resources or the CAO. So they'll make a use case for that item essentially. And looks like we've got to follow up there now.
I would just add that essentially if it's a individual use item under normal circumstances, i.e. a hat, a jacket, something like that, it's pretty clear that that's not a municipal use.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, recommendation here is that West Perth approve the gifts and benefit policy, conflict of interest and distribution as presented in James's report. Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Duck. Somebody had their hand up. Councillor O'Donnell. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And section 78, branch 2 of the Weir Drain.
Thanks to the chair. For the sake of brevity, I'll move fast here. This is another section 78 under the Drainage Act, in this case for improvements to branch 2 of the Weir Drain. The request was filed by Porkway Farms, and essentially what it is for is the construction of a new tile outlet along this branch of the drain. Under the Act, we need council to appoint an engineer to review the request and prepare a report. We're recommending that Chris Dietrich of Dietrich Engineering Limited be appointed. Reason being, he's familiar with the drainage system. And he worked on another Section 78 improvement to the weir drain in 2024. There's no costs at this stage. Costs and expenses will be assessed to benefiting landowners as part of the engineer's report. So again, recommendation is to proceed with the request, appoint Dietrich as the engineer, effective 30 days after notice to UTRCA. Thank you.
Any questions for James on that report? Okay, seeing no hands, the recommendation is that the municipality of West Perth proceed with the request for drain major improvement to branch 2 of the Weir Municipal Drain, and that council pursuant to the Drainage Act and subject to any objection from Upper Thames River Conservation Authority, appoint Chris Dietrich of Dietrich Engineering Limited as the drainage engineer on a date 30 days from the notice of the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority for the examination of the drainage works and to proceed with the requirements of the proposed improvement under Section 78 of the Drainage Act. It's in Logan. Somebody like to move that? Councillor Phelps, Councillor Foster, nobody from Logan. Oh, yeah, sorry. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. Parkland dedication fee is the next item. Dan?
Thank you, your worship. So before council tonight, we're bringing back the parkland dedication bylaw. Specifically, we're looking at the parkland dedication fee. This is a report council's seen before and we have discussed. It was previously deferred and we're bringing it back as per council's direction. As you can see, we do feel that our rate is low. However, we think that the recommended rate that we received from the consulting review is a bit high. So we've kind of picked something that we think aligns better with what we've seen regionally and what we've kind of been hearing regionally. So if there's any more questions on this report, I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions for Dan on that report? With all the expenses that we're looking at tonight, I just wonder if it shouldn't be a little higher, but that's a council decision. Councillor Rose.
So we would be going to 1,500, is that what you're saying? All right, which means we would be up with Perth East.
And if my memory's right, they're actually going to be looking at it, I think, as well. So they may be increasing. I think it was Perth East and North Perth we're looking at it. So but we can always tweak it again. So any other questions? Okay, recommendation that we have here is that the Council Municipality of West Perth direct the clerk to include a $1,500 per lot parkland dedication fee in the fee and charges bylaw and the parkland dedication bylaw. Mover and seconder for that, Councillor Harold, seconded by Councillor Duck. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And the lot on Hawking Drive in Russellville. Dan, you're got that one as well.
Yeah, again, something council's seen before and requested more information. So staff did go back and we did confirm that I'll say it is a developable lot. There are some caveats there that we've kind of noted in the report, but without knowing specifically the details of, I'll say, the single family residential dwelling that one would look to develop, it is a bit hard for us to narrow everything down exactly, but long and short of it is that it would be reasonable for someone to be able to put a residential unit on that property. So we are looking for direction from council to proceed with a public sale. If there's any questions, we can answer them.
Questions for Dan on that particular? I know it's come before council a few times over the years. Deputy Mayor.
Thanks, your worship, through you. Just the question on the designation or the allocation of the proceeds from the sale. It's in the recommendation that the proceeds be transferred to the Parkland Fees Obligatory Deferred Revenue Reserve. Are we legislated or obligated by legislation to assign the proceeds to that, or do we have a choice on where to send it?
It being that the land was initially a parkland dedication, staff would say that we are obligated to put the proceeds from that into that reserve fund.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councillor Harold.
Did we approach or discuss any of this with neighboring landowners? Yeah, thanks.
At this time, we have not.
That way everybody is treated the same. Anything else? Councillor Foster again.
If we proceed with this, will the neighboring landowners receive notice?
We can certainly provide them notice if council wishes of the intent. I think at this point, we would have to bring back a report to council of how we're going to go through the public sale process as well.
Could we provide them with notice? Because I had a couple of them asking about the lot before. So it's just, then they'd have an update on what's going on in there. That's if I remember.
We'll have to decide how we're going to advertise that we are going to sell it. So I would assume that one of them would be on our website. And what other methods we use, we'd have to decide. But, yeah. Any other questions? Okay, the recommendation is that the Council Municipality of West Perth direct staff to take the necessary steps to declare Plan 548, Block 10, Hawking Drive in Russelldale as surplus lands and proceed with a public sale. And that Council Municipality of West Perth declares the property known as Plan 548, Block 10, Hawking Drive in Russelldale as surplus to municipal needs. And that staff be directed to proceed with a public sale of the above noted lands, and that any proceeds from the sale be transferred to parkland fees, obligatory, now I'm gonna have trouble. Deferred revenue reserve. Okay, moved by Councillor Duck, seconded by Councillor Rose. All those in favor? Opposed, if any, that's carried. And then the Ontario Transit Investment Fund, we had asked Dan to look into this a little while ago. So Dan?
Yep, thank you, Worship. So again, reporting back, staff received directions to explore what a possible route could look like from Mitchell to Stratford. In conversations with North Perth, it looks like a partnership to bring it from Listowel down through to Mitchell over to Stratford was one of our best options. We've been looking at kind of a daily service to really capture people that need to get to and from their house to work or within business hours of another center. Bringing through the report at this time, we've got the projected costs in there, and we are looking for some council direction or opinion if we can go forward and explore an OTIF application through West Perth and other partners, which would be North Perth. The city of Stratford as well has kind of the administration of the program as well. At this point, that's really where we are. We've got kind of our rough estimate from the operator of what it would cost. There is a grant out there, and following some direction tonight, we could further unpack this a little bit. I would note the grant there, that it starts off at approximately $200,000 per year, and then it slowly is decreasing, as council may recall. That's there so the program can be self-funded in time. I'll leave it there if there's any questions at this point.
So, just before we get into a lot of discussion on it, to apply for the grant, we can still, if we decide that we don't want to proceed with it, we can still back out at that time. And I guess there's always a chance that we wouldn't be successful with the grant. So that would be one more item that we would need before we can really discuss it thoroughly, I would think, okay? Councillor Foster?
Is there any cost relating to applying for the grant?
Staff time, that would be about it. Anything else? Okay, the recommendation that we have here is that municipality of West Perth endorses the submission of an application to the Ontario Transit Investment Fund in partnership with the City of Stratford and the municipality of North Perth, and that staff be directed to bring forward future transit-related costs through the 2026 budget process. Moved by Councillor Harold, seconded by Deputy Mayor. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. So just a question, Dan, on when I still think of it. You said the bus would come from Listowel to Stratford to Mitchell, or from Listowel, Mitchell to Stratford?
Yeah, it would be coming Listowel down through Atwood, Moncton and into Mitchell and then over.
So then the return would be the same? When it comes back from Stratford, it would go to Listowel and then
It would come back the other way.
it would go back to from Stratford to Mitchell.
There is an option for a weekend road as well, but
All right. Well, I think you got permission to go ahead and look into it further anyways. Correspondence, we have the letter from the Mitchell Mets Fastball Club and Huron County Fastball League year-end tournament. It's an annual request, I do believe. Any questions on that one? I'll read the recommendation if there's no questions. The recommendation is the municipality of West Perth approve the request from the Mitchell Mets Fastball Club to declare the Huron County Fastball League year-end tournament held at Ketterson Park on September the 5th, 2025 from 5 to 1 a.m., September the 6th from 10 a.m. to 1 a.m., and September the 7th from 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. be of municipal significance and or community significance, and advise the Alcohol and Gaming Commission of Ontario that it has no objection to it taking place, and that the Mitchell Mets Fastball Club coordinate the provision of private security personnel after 6 p.m. on the scheduled event dates, and secures additional washroom facilities for the event dates to the satisfaction of the community services staff for West Perth. I have a mover and seconder for that. Moved by Councillor Foster, seconded by Councillor Feltz. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And then the other item that we had for correspondence was the thank you note from Broadhagen, and we passed that around so everybody is aware of that. The other recommendation that we have, I guess, is just the blanket one, the Council of Municipality of West Perth accept correspondence as information. We have a mover and seconder for that, Councillor Rose, Councillor Duck, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And then we have a number of bylaws. 9.1, 9.2 is, I think it's just the third reading that we need on them. And then bylaw 44 is 3 readings already, is it? Yes. Give third and final reading. Yes. Okay. So the recommendation is that the Council of Municipality of West Perth give first and second reading to bylaw 44, 2025, this 11th day of August. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Duck, Councillor Rose, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And then the last recommendation is the Council of Municipality of West Perth give third and final reading to bylaw 26, bylaw 38, 44, this 11th day of August, 2025. We have a mover and seconder for that. Councillor Feltz, Councillor O'Donnell, all those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. There's a list of a number of events that are coming up, and we don't meet until September the 2nd. So in between there's the Fall Fair Parade and working at the fair at a booth. And I believe Lindsay sent out an email for us to sign up on that. So I'll leave that at your leisure to fill in. Under other business, does anybody have anything? And I see Adam is still on the line. So the only, if I can find it here, I did jot some notes down that I would like to comment on. I lost it. Story of my life. There we go. I just like to comment because of the storm, and this is the first time that we've ever met since the storm. But I'd just like to comment on all our staff employees. And when I say all, I mean everybody from operations to the water guys, to the landfill, to the fire department, and also the county was out on the Saturday and Sunday and helping our operations guys, and as well as North Perth provided us some assistance. So and of course, paramedics were out as well. But to my knowledge, I don't think there was any physical injury throughout the storm. There was some property damage, of course, and there was major tree damage to no end. But I think they did an excellent job of cleaning up. And earth also should be mentioned in there. I couldn't believe I came out on the Thursday night, and then I came out Friday morning just to see, and earth must have worked all night because the hydro was on the main street that morning. And I think that's remarkable. And I did talk to Chris about that. Like, I just was really impressed. I said, even if the truck had to come from Goderich, it was still good. But no, everybody did a great job. And so I'm kind of addressing this to all our departments, but I know Adam is on there so he can relay that message. And even the municipality of West Perth, the ratepayers, all work together, like everybody just drew everybody together, help one another out. So I think that's just a great thing. So that's what I wanted to comment under other. We do have, unless somebody else has something else under other, we do have a closed session. And I know the night is marching on here, so I want to move along. That the Council of Municipality of West Perth proceed into a closed session or section 238 of the Municipal Act as amended at 9:48 to address matters related to personal matters about an identifiable individual, including municipal or local board employees. Advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose, and a trade secret or scientific, technical, commercial, financial, or labor relations information supplied in confidence to the municipality, which, if disclosed, could reasonably be expected to prejudice significantly the competitive position or interfere significantly with the contractual or other negotiations of a person, group, or persons or organization, financial information regarding photo radar services and Earth shareholder information. Do we have a motion to go into closed session at this time? Deputy Mayor and Councillor Foster, all those in favor, opposed, if any? So we've already had our break. I think if you're So we came out of closed session and we had a closed session to discuss the various matters around HR within the municipality, also legal matters and third-party financial information, and staff were provided with direction at this time. So I have that pretty well wraps up our meeting for tonight. I think the next item then is confirmatory bylaw, and bylaw number 45 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Municipality of West Perth be read a first and second time this 11th day of August. Mover and seconder for that. Deputy Mayor and Councillor Rose, all those in favor, opposed if any, and the bylaw 45 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council Corporation Municipality of West Perth be read a third time and finally passed. Is Andrew still on? Is he gone? Okay. I was going to get him to move a motion here, so. Somebody want to move third reading? Councillor O'Donnell, seconded by Councillor Foster. All those in favor, opposed if any, that's carried. And finally, a motion to adjourn. Councillor Harold and Councillor Phelps, all in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.